What's up? It's Ken. I was jogging today. It was rough. It was rough to say the least. I probably in about 10 minutes into my jog, my lungs were like, "Ken, you can't do this. Why?" It was like that, and so was my brain. My brain was like, "Dude, you have no energy. You should stop." But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna finish this jog, and I did, and I'm done, and now I'm here to talk about it. So it's Ken from Flowtricks. This is just a little bit of philosophy. That I don't think that a lot of people will watch videos like these because they're not easy. They're not easy. But in the same time, it's like, here we are with our lives. What else do we have to do besides try to understand how we've constructed ourselves? In my opinion, in my feelings, a lot of times we run. We run from ourselves. And I think that's the culprit of most of our issues that we have, is the fact that we have fears, we have past things that are coming up, and instead of looking at it, we either A, fight it, which makes it stronger, or B, we run away from it. It's like fight or flight. We either fight it, not realizing we're just planting seeds to make it come in worse, creating memories, creating like demons, or we run away from it, and we run away from it through escapes. So like while we're going through COVID, there's a lot of fears, there's a lot of thoughts that I feel like we should be open and human about, but we're avoiding it. And a matter of fact, I think the big one right now is, well, obviously what people are doing, what's the president doing, what's this person doing, what that person's doing, what am I doing? Why am I not on Etsy? Why am I not being more productive? I have all this free time. This is the time when whenever I said I'd had free time, I would start my hobbies. I do this, I do that. And it's like, it's this neuroticism that is crazy. And so when I say that not a lot of people will appreciate this video as much, it's because I don't want to feed that neuroticism. And it's the easiest thing we can do right now is feed it. Say, hey, learn this skill. And don't get me wrong, I am teaching skills during this too, but I'm trying to teach it as a form of expression so you can get your feelings out, not necessarily so you can have another skill that you can sell or another Etsy thing you can put online. This is your big chance to throw out some other thing because we don't have 10 million products already out there in the world, you know. For me, the most important thing is that you have something, a tool that you can use, so when your life gets crazy, that you have an expression. I mean, to me, that's the most rewarding part about this. And we don't know exactly how far that goes or what comes from that, but it's hard. That's the hardest thing that you can do in your life, is face those demons inside of yourself. Because if they aren't inside you, then it's usually pretty easy, which is why it's really easy to give advice to a friend, but it's hard to take our own advice when our backs are against the wall, because it's our fears. And we have to be looking at when we're running away from it or when we're not. And so like I saw this post where they were talking about discipline, you know, if you aren't like using the pandemic to make yourself better, to learn a new skill, you know, you lack discipline. But the truth is, like, that's a poor use of discipline in my opinion, because at this time, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of people going crazy. This is the time to understand yourself. This is the time, every time you're pointing at someone, every time you're looking at your life and saying, why aren't I doing more? That's the time to look at yourself and say, who put that there? Right? Like, why buy in this neuroticism? I'm not saying that we shouldn't have fear or that we shouldn't have. I'm just saying, why does it exist? Like, who put it there? We definitely need to protect ourselves, and we want to protect our families, and we want everyone to be good. So it's important to have a certain element of it, but then it starts spilling out, and we start blaming people, and it just, I don't know, man. The internet's kind of a crazy place right now. That's all I'm saying. So what I'm suggesting is that the philosophy that I'm talking about, including the spinning, is just a way to get some of your feelings out so you can kind of see things from a little bit more level-headed, a little more logical, just by getting out those feelings. You got to get those out first, because you usually notice, like, after a big fight, you're calm after that. So you have a big argument with a friend, you feel bad, you said things you didn't mean, and then after it's all said and done, give it a day or two to let the feelings subside, there's a certain calmness that happens, and it's because everything levels out back to zero. Well, I just want to say that, like, I feel like a lot of times you don't need to have that argument. Like, you don't need to have those things. It just happened to boil over to that point, and that was the only way it could get out. Just like the clouds have to, if they get oversaturated, it just rains. You know, it could be a thunderstorm. It could be a tornado. It could be all kinds of things. It's just because it built up to that point. It needed to escape because it, you know, just needs to extinguish itself so it can restart back afresh. So this goes back to running, and this goes back to spinning as well. But running takes me back into my martial arts days. So in the martial arts days, no matter what happened, like before I entered the dojo, no matter what happened in my day, whether it was good or bad, whatever I carried with me or whatever I pulled away, as soon as I stepped in that dojo, I did my bow, and all of that was behind me. You did not carry your past, your emotional, whatever was going through it. You leave that behind you, and you are a student of the martial arts for that hour or 2 hours. And when you leave, you can let it come back, you can revisit it, but at that particular moment, you put all your feelings behind you so you can be a student of the martial arts. That's a certain kind of discipline that I think is really, really good. It's really valid. It's really nice, because if you always go by how you feel about things, you're actually a little bit imprisoned by your own feelings, because your gut feelings are going to come from your assumptions. And your assumptions often come from how people treated you in the past or what has happened in the past. So if you're not able to escape that, then you're essentially going to be a victim. You're going to be cornered into your own thought patterns. So when I don't feel like jogging, I think of those martial arts days where I was like, but I did it anyways. And usually when I came out of it, I felt better. And I do feel better, even though I did not like the jog at all. So maybe all of this is changing my spirits in a way that I can't even imagine, like in a way that I don't even realize the benefits. So you may not even realize the biggest benefits that happen to you. And one of the best examples is the fact that I was a musician before I was a martial artist, or before I was a circus artist. Before I even touched the nunchucks, I was a musician. And I flew down to California to play a show, and they had fire dancers. And then when I came back, I started spinning nunchucks. Because I was like, oh my God, that is so amazing. I want to learn how to do that. So I went home and started spinning nunchucks. And what I'm trying to say is, like, I could have never guessed me starting music would eventually lead to me doing nunchucks, leading to me doing a YouTube channel and joining a couple circuses and performing around the world, and then having a YouTube channel. Like, you can't imagine that just straight from the music. And in the same way, if I took music and I said, I'm a musician, I need to be like a full-time music artist. If my goal was there and I never stopped to look around what I was carving, what was being created, I wouldn't realize some of my best opportunities were just slightly off angle from what I've already carved. Also, the thought that if I never started music in the first place, I would have never been here. It's like everything leads into one and to another. So when I think about jogging, I don't always like to jog. Matter of fact, I still don't like it. But maybe I'm carving something, and as soon as I just look a little off to the side, maybe it's not getting in shape or the cardio that I wanted, because I haven't seen a lot of improvement in that, but maybe it opens up something else that I didn't realize or couldn't realize because I had to get far enough with my jogging to see it. And that's where I'm going with this, is you just don't know. Maybe not, right? Maybe not. But I do know what happens if you don't try. You know, you've been there. We've all been there. We know what happens when you don't try. Nothing. You talk about the same thing. A year from now, you'll still be talking about that one if you take that first step. And if you take that first step, usually you realize that there's 100 more steps in between. So it's like, that's like everything. Like, you start a YouTube channel, you don't realize you need to look up SEO and keyword research and try to like think about how the words you use in your video, because YouTube actually scans all like what you say and uses that as part of the keywords. There's so many things. And you would never have to like all the research that it takes. So, and it's easy to want to give up, and it becomes overwhelming. But if you just take it step by step and you do it anyways, even if you don't feel like it, to me, that's the kind of discipline that I think is good. The kind of discipline that we need, the ability to leave your feelings outside just for a moment, even if it's just for 10 to 20 minutes a day, I think that's good for you. Now, generally speaking, I think we're driven by our emotions. I'm heavily driven by emotions, but it's also good to throw those off to the side for a second so you get a moment of clarity, because sometimes it's your emotions that get in the way the most, preventing you from taking anything clear. It can keep you in traps, like I said, especially if you've had a hard past. That just creates you a victim as to, you know, where your feelings dictate things should go, when the reality is you may not be experiencing anything that's the same of what you think it is, but your feelings are just triggered off. So the ability to put your feelings off to the side and do things anyways, because you see a greater benefit into it, I think is really, really important. In the end, I guess that's where I'm really going with that, is do things anyways. You know, but don't ignore your feelings. Just be able to put them off to the side once in a while so you can have some moments of clarity. And also, through this pandemic, if there's anything that I could really stress, it's not to build the next Etsy. It's not to have your new skill that you can showcase. It's just to take care of yourself. Just take care of yourself, really. If everyone took care of themselves and we stopped pointing fingers so hard and we just worked on our own mental health, we have the time to really make an impact and make a difference, to where when we do help others, it's not depleting from us. Because when people give too much away of themselves, they themselves become lost. And we don't want that either. What we want is people to share what overflows, as well as keep good. If everyone takes care of themselves and share what overflows, then we have a good, happy society, in my opinion. So whatever you think works for this, that's great. Take everything with a grain of salt. Do what works for you. Get rid of the rest. That's all I really had to say today. Hope you guys are well. I've got a live stream happening on Sunday. I can't remember what it's about right now, but I'll take a look at it. And yeah, I'm going to head out for now, but hope you guys are staying well through all this craziness. And if you have any questions, send me a message. Otherwise,